We are live. I hope. Hopefully this is coming through loud and clear and you can hear me, you can see me, and all that good stuff. So if this is working, give me a notification there in the chat window. Let me know that you can hear me, that this is coming through loud and clear. All right, let's see. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Is this working? I think it is. I'm just going to double check. I had a bit of issues there at the start, so I'm just going to double check, make sure that it is coming through there. I believe it is. Good stuff. Hey, how's it going? Lee Hayward here for our October 22nd live video chat. And the way that these chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour-ish. I always say ish because sometimes if I get yapping, I get the gift of gab, I sometimes go longer. But I'm going to hang out here for the next hour and do the best that I can to help you with any questions or topics of discussion that you have with regards to fitness and nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, or any specific challenges that you are dealing with when it comes to your workouts and eating plan and all that kind of stuff. So feel free to type any questions or topics that you may have into our chat window. And also let me know who's tuning in. Let me know where you're tuning in from, what time it is in your local area. And if you are new to the chat, let me know that as well. Don't be shy, right? That's the whole idea about this. This is a supportive group, right? There are no stupid questions. Well, let me rephrase that. Sometimes we do get stupid questions. But if it is a legit question, I'm going to do the best that I can to answer it. I know sometimes people take that out of context, because I used to always say there are no stupid questions. If you've got a question on your mind, it deserves an answer, and then people would go out of their way to be posting stupid questions. But if it is a legitimate question, I'm going to do the best I can to answer it today during our video chat. So we got Dan joining in. I got Jerry joining in there. Cy. We've got B Gaines. We have Ralph joining in. Welcome, gentlemen. All right, B Gaines is new to the chat. Welcome. Always nice to have new people joining in to our video chats. We got Bill joining in. Welcome, Bill. Glad to have you tuning in. Good stuff. Now, one thing that I want to address before we get into your specific questions and topics of discussion is I was having a conversation with some of my coaching students, and I was actually chatting with some people over on the Dad Bod Transformation group over on Facebook, which is a group that I participate on, and I help out as a resident coach over on that group. And if you haven't already done so, I would highly recommend you check them out. It's Dad Bod Transformation over on Facebook, and it's one of the largest groups dedicated towards helping busy fathers build muscle, lose the gut, and get back in shape, i.e. lose the dad bod, right? Achieve a dad bod transformation. And it's a massive group. Like there's 70,000+ people in that group, and it's very active. A lot of support and a lot of encouragement there. So it's a great place. And if you are in that category, right, you know, busy dad looking to lose the dad bod and get in shape, I highly recommend you check it out. But I was having a chat there with one of the guys who's following a fat loss program, doing quite well, lost a lot of weight, but now he's at the phase where he's stuck in a fat loss plateau. And I was actually having this conversation with some of my coaching students as well, who have been following along with a fat loss program, making some good progress, but now they're at a standstill when it comes to their progress. And they're wondering, like, what do I do now to bust past that plateau? And that's something that I want to address here. And the thing is, it's not a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter answer. And that's the problem when it comes to a lot of fitness and nutrition-related questions in general, is because it really depends on the individual, their situation, and what they're going through. Because someone could achieve a plateau because they're not doing enough. Someone else could achieve a plateau because they're doing too much and they're literally burning themselves out, and everything in between, right? So it's not always the same. Hey, I hit a plateau, we'll do this, right? Like you have to look at, well, what's causing that plateau to begin with? So I want to just kind of address the topic in general here and break it down to the most common situation, right? The most common situation. And of course, if you do have any comments or feedback about what I'm sharing here, then feel free to type it into the chat window and we'll address it during our chat. But a lot of times when I'm talking to people who are struggling with fat loss, it's usually because they're not doing enough or they think they're doing more than they are. All right. Like a common situation. I hear people say, well, I eat healthy. How come I can't lose weight? Well, healthy doesn't always mean you're in a calorie deficit, because you could be eating very healthy, but still be eating way too much. And that is a common issue for a lot of people. Calories in versus calories out. Like, that is the number one thing that is going to determine fat loss at the end of the day. Even if you ate junk food and garbage and processed stuff, but you were in a calorie deficit, you could still lose weight. And prime example of this, back in 2010, university professor Mark Hobb proved this by going on the Twinkie diet. And he documented it in a study where for, I think it was 10 weeks, he went on a Twinkie diet. Now, he called it the Twinkie diet, but he ate more than just Twinkies. But it was all processed junk. It was snack cakes. It was potato chips. It was just, like all the crap. Like, you go down the cookie and chip aisle at the grocery store, like all that processed crap that you shouldn't be eating. That's all he ate for 10 weeks. He ate nothing but processed crap, but he made sure that he tracked his calories and that he was in a calorie deficit. So he limited himself to 1,800 calories a day, even though it was 1,800 calories of garbage. And even though he was eating junk food, because he was in a calorie deficit, he still lost weight. And he ended up losing something in the vicinity of 20 plus pounds over the course of his 10-week experiment of the Twinkie diet. So he wanted to prove that it's not just eating healthy, it's calories in versus calories out. Now, I'm not suggesting you go on the freaking Twinkie diet, if that's what you're wondering here, because just knowing the way nutrition works and knowing the way the body works, that must have been a very painful experiment to go through, because those foods trigger your appetite. When you eat you eat the processed foods, it doesn't satiate you. It doesn't fill you up. Like, there's not the fiber and the volume and the roughage and the eating satiation that you get if you eat natural unprocessed foods, right? Like, you eat a bag of potato chips, you don't get full. If you eat a bag of apples, like most people couldn't even eat a whole bag of apples, but those foods are filling. Like, you only eat so many apples before you get full and you say, I can't eat any more apples. I'm sick and tired of them. But potato chips, you can just eat and eat and eat. And next thing you know, you're scraping the bottom of the bag and you're still hungry. Same thing with ice cream, right? You just start eating and eating. Next thing you know, you're scraping the bottom of the ice cream container and you're like, what happened? Even though you consume several hundred calories or maybe 1,000 plus calories, you don't feel full. Whereas if you're eating like apples or vegetables or chicken breasts or these natural unprocessed foods, like, you just can't endlessly eat them. Like, nobody goes on an apple binge, or nobody goes on a salad binge where they just can't stop eating salad, or they don't stop eating chicken breasts or anything like that. You can't do it because you eat so many of them and you get full, right? Like, just imagine I put a full bag of apples in front of you and I said, okay, you got to eat as many as you want. Right? You might eat 1, 2, maybe 3. And then after that, you're like, man, I'm just sick and tired of apples. I don't want to eat anymore. But if I said, put a bag of potato chips or, a box of cookies or snack crackers or something like that in front of you, you could just start snacking and keep going and going, because it doesn't fill you up. And in fact, the food companies engineer these foods to make them so they don't fill you up. Right? So, I mean, you're going to want to eat more of them. And that's the whole design. I mean, they're engineered by design to make you want to consume. They're not engineered to make you want to get full and stop eating, right? That's not how they make money. They make money with more you eat, right? So that's the way it's designed. But anyway, back to my whole point here. Calories in, calories out is the most important thing, right? That is the key. So even if you are eating healthy, but you're simply eating too much, then that could cause you to be in a fat loss plateau or not seeing results. Another thing you got to be very careful of as well is, what are you adding to your foods? Because you could be eating the right foods, but all the little things that go along with it can bump you out of what would be considered a calorie deficit. For example, I was chatting with somebody earlier today, and I was just asking him to explain, he's stuck in a fat loss plateau, and I said, okay, well, take me through a typical day's eating. What do you have? And he said, well, I eat eggs for breakfast. All right. And he went through his day. He said, I eat this for breakfast, eat that for lunch, eat this for dinner. And I said, okay, now you said you eat eggs for breakfast. I said, like, are you just eating eggs? Just pure plain eggs? Well, I have eggs and I have toast. And I also put cheese on it. And, so it's not just eggs. Like, he's boom, 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 stacking all this other stuff. I mean, that adds a lot of extra calories. And in fact, the toast and the cheese and butter and whatever else he's adding onto it, that's more calories than the actual eggs, right? So what are you putting on your food? even when it comes to salad, like if you're eating natural, healthy foods, like, vegetables and salads, but you're drowning it with dressing and you're piling it on with cheese and croutons and bacon bits and everything else. Now, all of a sudden, even though it's a salad, it's probably got more calories than a burger and fries, right? I see this, like sometimes when you go to certain restaurants and they list off, the food items and they got the calorie count next to them. Like some of the salads are literally, some of the most calorie dense foods that they have on the menu option, because it's loaded with all that stuff. Like I said, the salad dressing, the cheese and the toppings and the croutons and, bacon and nuts and whatever else they throw in there. And even though it's a salad, now it's this super high calorie dense salad. So people might say, well, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I'm eating salad every day. Yeah, you're eating salad, but it's bumping you into a calorie surplus because of all the extra crap that's going on top of it. Which, if you made your salad at home or you were more conscious about what went on it, it could be a very healthy choice for fat loss. So you got to look at what you're putting on your food. So this can go a long way. And the cool thing about it is these days we have a lot of options available to add flavor to your food without a lot of calories. Like you can get sugar-free barbecue sauce. You can get sugar-free ketchup and sugar-free maple syrup and all kinds of, similar seasonings and condiments that are lower in calories, that are healthier options. Now, granted, a lot of times they don't taste quite as good as the original, but it's good enough, right? It's a good enough substitute that you can still enjoy your food, add some extra flavor there without breaking the bank and going over the board when it comes to calories. Other things that really go a long way with this, like salsa sauce is a good one. Soy sauce is a good low-calorie one. Mustard, vinegar. What else is there? Dry spices like any garlic and herb, salt and pepper, that kind of stuff. Can add a lot of flavor with very few calories. So these are the type of things that you want to be looking for. Avoid the heavy sauces, gravies, salad dressings and stuff like that, because those are just so jam-packed with calories, and they can take an otherwise low-calorie dense food and make it a very calorie-dense one just by adding that. So you want to be cautious when it comes to that stuff. These are little things that can put you over the edge when it comes to achieving a fat loss. What else is there? You have to look at your exercise as well, right? Like, and how are you structuring that? Because a lot of people are doing strength training, and strength training is great. Don't get me wrong. I love it, and I do encourage it. But you don't burn as many calories from strength training as a lot of people think. Like on average, when you're in the gym working out, you're burning about 10 calories a set on average. Now, it'll vary depending on the exercise and how hard you're pushing yourself and, of course, your body size. But just a ballpark guesstimate to kind of give you some numbers, you're burning about 10 calories a set. So if you go in there and you do 20 sets, you burn 200 calories. You do 30 sets, you burn 300 calories. Right? If you go in there and do a crazy long workout and you do 40 sets, you burn 400 calories. Like, that's not a lot of calories. Whereas if you do cardio, you can burn a lot more calories, because cardio is steady state. You're moving nonstop, whereas weight training is stop, go. So you don't burn as many calories. Even though it's hard and you exert effort, you're not burning as many calories because of the way it's structured. So like an hour of weight training versus an hour of cardio, you'll burn more calories doing the hour of cardio because you're physically moving more. Now, it's not as intense. It could be, depending on the type of cardio you're doing. But generally speaking, like an hour of cardio is probably not going to be as stressful on the body as an hour of heavy weight training, but you'll actually burn more calories from it. So this can be a big plus. If you're not doing cardio or you're not doing enough cardio, that can be a hindrance when it comes to fat loss. So you want to bump up the cardio. But at the same time, there's a balance there, because some people hear this and then they take it to the extremes, and then they start going like burning the candle at both ends, and then start doing hours of exercise. Like they're doing weight training and then they're doing like 2+ hours of cardio a day, and they're like burning the candle at both ends. And while that may work in the short term, what very often happens is it could literally cause you to overtrain and burn out. And in the process of doing so, sometimes it actually will trigger your appetite and make you even hungrier. So even though you're burning a ton of calories, you're so ravishingly hungry after those long workouts that you end up overeating and canceling out the calorie benefits that you achieve from the calorie deficit of the workout itself. So you got to be cautious of that. And this is something I see a lot of when it comes to long distance endurance athletes, like marathon runners and long distance cyclists and triathletes and people who do extreme amounts of long distance cardio exercise, is they use the fact that they burn up so much calories during their exercise as a justification that, well, I'm going to burn it off, and I burned up so many calories, I can eat whatever I want. And they purposely justify eating the wrong foods and eating too much food, thinking that they're just going to burn it all off. But you can't cancel out poor diet with exercise. Can't be done, right? I mean, it helps, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously you're better off to exercise and eat like crap versus not exercise and eat like crap. But if you want to maximize fat loss, you need both. You need the diet and you need the exercise in the right ratios. So don't use the fact that you're exercising as a justification that you can eat whatever you want or eat too much, right? It still comes down to calories in, calories out at the end of the day. And it's so easy to overcompensate for the calories you burned by overeating after a hard workout. So you got to balance that out. And this is something that I've been, I found out myself as I've been dabbling with some, long distance endurance training. I find that I got to be cautious of those calories, really keep things in check, or else you can actually get fat even though you're doing a lot of cardio, right? If you're not conscious of it. Now, from another point of view, this is another thing that I've seen when it comes to people who are super strict and super dedicated to their training. And I'm going to use like competitive bodybuilders and fitness athletes as an example for this. I've seen it in the past when I was coaching people getting ready for competition, where they were super meticulous with keeping a calorie deficit, super consistent with their cardio, super consistent with their weight training, and doing so for weeks and months on end. And sometimes you can actually get to the point where your body just stops responding. It stops responding the way it once did. So like what was once working really well can all of a sudden just flatline. And if you know for a fact that you haven't been cheating on your diet, like you haven't been eating clean from Monday to Friday and then binging all weekend or something like that, which is another reason for a fat loss plateau, is if you binge on the weekend. But anyway, getting back to my previous topic there, if you know for a fact that you've been super strict with the nutrition, super strict with the workouts, and like everything should be going as according to plan, but you're just not seeing the results, it could be that you're actually causing your body to be in this overtrained state, and you're stressing out the metabolic processes in your body, like the metabolic hormones, and your body just kind of is shutting down. It needs a break. And I've often seen it where I've taken people like competitors who are in the pre-contest phase who have hit the wall, and they're like, man, I don't know, like, what do I do? I'm already, I'm eating less than 2,000 calories a day. I'm already doing 2 hours of cardio a day plus my weight. Like, what do I do? Like, do I eat even less? Do I exercise even more? What do I do? And I say, like, let's go on a little diet break. Like for the next week, let's purposely bump up the calories so that we're in a slight surplus. Let's cut back the cardio and the exercise, like cut it back to a maintenance active recovery phase, a deload phase, if you will, however you want to word it. And we just drastically reduce the volume, bump up the calories a bit. So now they're no longer in a deficit, but they're actually in a slight surplus, and just let the metabolism recover. It's almost like a diet break, if you will. And this has huge benefits because, one, it mentally gives you a break from dieting where you get to eat till you're satiated and full, and it helps to refill your glycogen stores and just aid with that whole recovery process. But it also bumps up your metabolism and helps to reset your metabolic hormones, your leptin levels, your thyroid, and all that kind of stuff. And then after a little break, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, it depends on the individual and how long they've been dieting for. But after a little diet break, then you go back to what you were doing before, go back to the program that was initially working for you. And it's like, boom, all of a sudden it starts working again, and your body responds to it so much better. So, I mean, this is sometimes what's needed, is a little diet break. But again, this only comes into play when people are super strict and super dedicated to their program, and they know, like, it hasn't been this on and off again, cheat meal every other day and that kind of thing. It's like if you are super strict and super dedicated, and everything's should be going according to plan, but you're not seeing the results, then that may be the case. So, I mean, that's another strategy that I've used for some of my coaching students, and it certainly does work when applicable. Now, the thing is, with all these different scenarios, it really depends on you and your situation. So if you are currently following a fat loss program and you're stuck in a rut when it comes to this, like you're not seeing the results that you think you should be, and you would like some help with it, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me personally, leeh@leehayward.com, or you can head on over to Facebook and message me through there. If we're not friends on Facebook already, then just friend me up. Do a search for Lee Hayward on Facebook. Find me. You should be able to find my profile. It's me wearing a dad bod transformation t-shirt doing a front double bicep pose. So you should be able to find my profile and friend request me and message me through Facebook. I'm very active over there. And we can have a chat about it and discuss your situation, your goals, what it is that you're doing, and if any of these strategies can help you in your situation. Because like I said before, the biggest problem when it comes to fitness and nutrition, like you can go on like social media forums, or you can do a Google search, or you can go like looking on YouTube and you say like, how do I do X? Like, how do I build muscle? How do I lose fat? How do I bust through a plateau? And then you'll get all the different answers. But the problem is that answer specific to you and your situation? Because different situations require a different approach, right? Like if I'm coaching a 20-something-year-old who's trying to build muscle, that's a totally different plan than if I'm coaching a 50-year-old who's trying to lose weight and get back in shape, right? It's not going to be the same program, the same nutrition plan for both guys. It depends on you, your situation, your circumstances, and what's applicable for you at this stage of the game, not what somebody else who's a totally different scenario is doing. So that's where it can get confusing sometimes. And it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just different people, different context, right? An analogy I like to use with this is like, imagine you're looking at our school system. Like I could take the curriculum for a kindergarten student, right? I mean, would I give that same course curriculum to a college student? Right? Imagine you go into college and the professor comes in and says, okay, class, today we're going to learn the alphabet, right? I'm going to teach you your ABCs and we're going to count to 10. Everybody be looking at the professor and saying, is this guy smoking crack? Like what the heck is going on here? Like, but for a kindergarten student, that's very applicable, right? You need to learn the alphabet and you need to learn how to count to 10. Like that's very valuable skills. And if you don't have that foundation, then there's no way in hell you're going to learn the rest of it. Vice versa, you imagine taking, a college curriculum and trying to teach it to a kindergarten student. Like it was way over their head. They wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about because, hey, they don't even know the alphabet yet. They don't know how to count to 10. Right? They need to lay the foundation. So it's not that one is right or wrong. It's just who is it applicable for, right? What's right for a kindergarten student isn't right for a university student and vice versa. So same applies with fitness and nutrition. It's not that it's good information or bad information. It's like, is that information applicable to you at this stage of the game right now, today, where you're at? And if it's not, then don't follow it, right? You need to find something that's applicable to you and your situation. And that's where it helps to have an experienced coach in your corner who can guide you and direct you to what's going to help you with this. So again, if you want some help, reach out to me, send me a message, send me an email, and we can chat. All right, so that's Fat Loss Plateaus. I'll grab me a sip of water, jump into our chat, and see what we got. Let's see. Kevin is saying, Lee, if doing a natural show, how can I dry out without drugs? If you are natural, you shouldn't have any excess water retention because usually water retention is a side effect of performance-enhancing drugs, especially ones that can aromatize. So if you don't have that in your system, you shouldn't have a big issue with water retention. The biggest reason why people retain water is because they're mistaking water for fat. You don't have rolls of water retention, right? Like if you can't see your abs yet, that's not because they're blurred with water. There's fat there. Like a lot of people don't realize how lean you have to get for a bodybuilding show to get, the definition that shows on stage. It's crazy how lean you have to be, right? Like if you've never done it before, if you've never experienced it and seen competitors up close in person, like pictures and videos never do justice. If you've never been to a show live before and actually been through it yourself and experienced it, you don't realize how lean you need to be. And most people are going to have to lose a lot more weight than they think in order to get contest shredded. And it's usually not water retention. Like I remember back in the day hearing some of the competitors and stuff, oh, I got all this water retention in my lower back. And I said, no, that's called love handles. That's fat, right? You got another 6 weeks of dieting, right? Meanwhile, this is the day before the show, and he's wondering, like, how do I lose all that water retention that's hanging over my waistline there? Yeah, that's body fat. You got to burn that stuff. That's not, you can't just suck it up and dry it out, right? Now, there is a case. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if you do have all your body fat lost, I mean, water manipulation can make a difference, but it's not a major issue as a lot of people think, especially for natural competitors. As long as you don't overeat before a show, meaning like you're carving up too much and causing yourself to spill over, or you're drinking a ton of water or whatever and causing yourself to get bloated. As long as you're not doing that, water retention is not a big deal. It's really not. I mean, I competed back in July of this year, and how I went about it is I literally dieted right up to the day of the show. I cut back on my water intake. In my case, I cut it back. When was it I cut it back? Thursday night, because I wanted to make weight for Friday. So I cut back my water intake. I didn't eliminate it. Don't get me wrong. I didn't eliminate it, but I just cut it back significantly on Thursday. And I actually kept my calories super low throughout the day because I wanted to make weight for Friday afternoon at the weigh-in. And then afterwards, then I started to eat, but I never ate excessive amounts in any one time, just small, frequent meals from that point on. And as long as you don't overeat or overdrink, then water retention should not be a big issue. It really shouldn't, right? So I didn't use any diuretics or anything like that, any tricks to try and lose the water. I mean, I was in shape leading up to the show. And as long as you're in shape leading up to the show, you're not going to be retaining water. Steamer says, I tried to contact you on Instagram, but I didn't get a reply. I'm not very active over on Instagram, so friend me up on Facebook. I seriously, I haven't even logged into Instagram this past month. I mean, I do have an account over there, but I'm old school. I use Facebook. So if you want to message me through social media, message me through Facebook, or just send me an email. And again, my email is leeh@leehayward.com. Jerry is saying, can an 11-year-old take creatine or whey protein? The coach here in Philippines says that if you take whey protein, you will have acne. Oh my God. And now, first off, I mean, you're 11 years old, so don't go overthinking the process. Like, just focus on eating as much good, natural, unprocessed food as you can and being consistent with exercise. Like, you don't need to overthink it at this stage of the game, right? But can you take whey protein? Yes, you can take whey protein, or you can just get protein from solid food. Like, you're not going to get acne because of protein. Like, whether or not you get acne is going to have very little to do if you take protein or not. It really, seriously, like, most teenagers are going to get acne anyway, just based on your body going through hormonal changes and everything else, right? Like, look at most teens with who get acne. They're not all bodybuilders, right? They're not all slamming back creatine and protein shakes and everything else. It just happens, right? I mean, it's just part of life. I mean, when I was a kid, I had acne. Even, most of the people in my class when I was going through, junior high and high school and everything else had acne. That's just part of the process. Now I grew out of it. So, I mean, it's frustrating when you're going through it, but that's usually something that you will grow out of, right? I mean, I went to dermatologists and all that kind of stuff, and they put me on all kinds of pills and medications and creams and shit like that. And all it did was dry out my skin. And it got to the point where my skin was so flaky, still pimply. And it was just, man, it was so uncomfortable that I just said, screw this. I quit. And then when I stopped taking everything, all the pills and medication that the doctors was trying to give me for acne, it literally went away on its own, right? So I don't even worry about that. But as far as protein's concerned, you need protein. Like, protein is a very healthy. Like, whey protein is basically milk protein. Do you know people who are 11 years old that drink milk or consume dairy products? Probably most people do, right? I mean, it's natural. I mean, whey protein is found in baby formula. Literally, like, you go to the store, you pick up a container of baby formula and you read, like, the ingredients. A lot of them, unless it's some vegan formula or whatever, probably contains whey protein in there. I mean, the stuff that I used to give my son when he was a baby on the baby formula contained whey protein. So it's not this dangerous, unnatural substance. Like a lot of people think protein, oh my God, it's going to cause you to blow up and explode or something, like thinking this is going to kill you. It's not. It's freaking food. It's milk protein. Like that's what it is. It's not some crazy alien substance that's going to, do weird, wacky things. It's just a nutrient that your body needs, right? You need protein, so don't be scared of it. Anyway, moving on. B Gains is saying, Lee, what's your opinion on butt wink when squatting? Dangerous or not too dangerous? That really depends on you. Like, do you feel any stress or pain when you squat, like in that lumbar area? When I do a full squat, I have butt wink, right? Meaning that just the way the hips rotate a bit in the bottom, right? When I squat, like if I just stop at parallel, there's no butt wink. If I sink all the way down and do an ass to the floor squat, there's a little tiny bit of butt wink there. It doesn't cause me any problem. It doesn't affect my form or anything like that. I mean, I feel fine doing it. And if you look at a lot of top level lifters who do full squats, like Olympic lifters and stuff like that, a lot of them will have butt wink if they do a full ass to the floor squat. It's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. Like some people freak out, oh my God, your hips are rotating a little bit. But if you feel comfortable and you don't have any pain or discomfort or whatever, and your strength is still good, I don't see anything wrong with it. But again, it's an individual thing. I mean, like obviously it'd be nice if you had an experienced coach take you through it and see like if your squat form in general is good, your posture and your mechanics and your positioning and everything else. But if everything's good and you feel good when you're squatting and your strength and you're making progress, then just the fact that you have a little bit of a butt wink, which for those of you wondering what butt wink is, it's when you sink super deep into a squat, sometimes the hips can rotate a little bit in the bottom. And it's like, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's very common, actually. Most people who don't have butt wink is because they're not squatting deep enough. It's really an individual thing. It really is. Like it all depends on your joint mechanics and stuff like that. Like some people can do a full squat without any of it. Some people have a lot more of it. Some people have a little bit. But if it doesn't cause problems, then you should be okay. Robert is saying, have you ever had elbow problems? I've had tennis elbow. I've just had aches and pains in the elbows. Yeah, I've had a lot of it. I mean, if you have any elbow problem questions, feel free to elaborate on it. But yeah, I've had my share of aches, pains, and joint problems, including in the elbows over the years. We got Len joining in. We have Ruel joining in. We have Gamal joining in. Gamal saying, what's your opinion on resistance bands as a substitute to weights or going to the gym? Resistance bands are awesome. I use them. I have them myself. If I can't make it to the gym or if I'm traveling, which I haven't done since COVID, but when I used to travel back in the good old days, right? Pre-masks, pre-vaccination, back when the earth was flat and the grass was green, I used to use resistance band when I traveled, and I love them. I mean, you can get a really good workout with resistance bands. They're versatile. They're super convenient and portable. So, I mean, hey, you can pack them in your suitcase. You can pack them in your briefcase, your knapsack, whatever. Pack them in your gym bag. I mean, boom, you can take resistance bands pretty much anywhere, hardly any space or weight. So they're super convenient from that point of view. And you can duplicate a lot of exercises, especially if you get like a doorway anchor. So you can, set it up in a doorway there. So then you can duplicate various pulley and cable exercises that you would do at the gym. And during COVID lockdown, a lot of my coaching students were doing resistance band workouts at home and still making great progress. So yeah, I mean, in fact, just go to my YouTube channel and scroll through. Like I've got a bunch of different home workouts using resistance bands, and it is a good substitute. Now, if you have access to the gym, would I recommend the gym? Heck yeah. Like a proper gym is way better than a set of resistance bands. But if you're in a jam and you have to make do, then you can certainly make do using resistance bands. But if you got access to a gym, by all means, take advantage of it. The resistance bands are a nice addition if you want to add in some extra workouts, or like say you're stuck in a jam and you don't have access to a gym. You can certainly get by with them. It's better than nothing. Something is always better than nothing. Blue Leaf saying, Lee, I have been feeling very tired during my workouts lately. I'm wondering if a deload week off would be beneficial. Possibly. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why one could be tired, and you got to look at the overall picture. What's going on? Like, are you sleeping adequately? Are you getting adequate nutrition? Are you under any extra stress or responsibilities? Like, what's going on in the bigger picture? Like, what could be causing you to be feeling tired? And if everything seems to be going well, like, hey, you're sleeping well, you're eating well, nothing's really changed on the responsibilities and stress side of things, and your workout performance is suffering, then maybe, yeah, a deload week could certainly help. And even if you're going through phases of just feeling extra tired, like, listen to your body. Your body's very intelligent. It will tell you when it needs to rest. Right? Don't ignore those signals. So when you're feeling tired, don't not work out. Just do easier workouts, shorter workouts. And when it comes to like gym sessions, the simple thing to do is just like lighten up the weights, not push yourself to failure, take a little longer rest between sets, like literally just kind of go through the motions. You still work out, but you just don't push yourself as hard, right? It's simple as that. Maybe you do more machine exercises and less free weights, so it's things that are not as stressful on the body. And that's what I do. I mean, I don't stop training. I just do easier training. And I do that for a week or two, or however long it takes until you start to feel better again. And just, again, listen to your body, and your body will tell you when it's feeling good. And very often, like, I'll just kind of do this on an ongoing basis. Like, if I'm dragging my ass and I just feel very tired, then I'm not going to go in there and try and set a personal record or push myself to the limit. Like, I'm just going to go in there and do an easier workout. Same thing with the cardio. Like, on those days when I'm just dragging my heels, okay, this is just going to be a low intensity cardio day. But on those days when I'm feeling full of piss and vinegar and I got energy to burn, well, okay, I'm going to do some high intensity cardio. I'm going to push myself. And you can do the same thing. You can just listen to your body and adjust it according to how you're feeling in the moment. So if you're feeling high energy and you got, strength and want to push it. On those days when you're feeling, you're running on empty, well, then just go through the motions, right? Go on cruise control. And that's fine. There's no shame in doing that. And a lot of times, people will purposely plan that in their training. Like, I look at some of the more advanced trainers that I follow, like in different athletes, like they will purposely have heavy and light training days scheduled in there. But of course, they're flexible, right? Meaning that, like, even if it's scheduled to be a high intensity day, but they're like feeling super tired, and okay, hey, this is going to be an active recovery day, and I'll save that high intensity day for a day when I'm actually feeling better. And that's the way I am. So I'm instinctive when it comes to it. Like, I don't necessarily have it set in my mind that I have to follow the schedule according to plan, or I have to increase the weight every single week or whatever. Like, play it by ear and listen to your body. Your body is very intelligent, and it will give you the cues and the warning signs and the information you need if you just tune in and listen to it. All right, moving on. We have Neil joining in. He says, hope you're doing well. What are your thoughts about drinking only coffee as a pre-workout, then lift weights, and then an hour after eat breakfast? Is this optimal? It depends. I very often have coffee as a pre-workout drink. I love coffee. I am a coffee drinker, and I find that a pre-workout cup of coffee is ideal because it gives you a little bit of caffeine and that little bit of mental and physical pick-me-up, that kind of energy boost that you need. It also helps to curb your appetite, but it's not overkill. Like, one of the problems these days with a lot of the pre-workout supplements that are on the market, which are becoming like the most popular supplements, is it's just overkill. Like, they're jam-packed with caffeine and stimulants and God knows what, and it's just way too much. In fact, most pre-workout supplements that I've used, I can't even use a full serving. Like, I will use half a serving and still feel like wired. Like, so a lot of them are overkill. And so I like coffee in that it's quite mild, right? I mean, of course, that depends on your caffeine sensitivity. But for me, I find it's quite mild. I enjoy it. And it just gives me that little bit of a caffeine kick that I need. So it allows me to get through a good workout. So nothing wrong with the coffee. As far as doing your workout fasted or not, I mean, you can train fasted if you enjoy it. But you got to look at the bigger picture. Like, what is it you're training for? And when are you training? Okay, if you're doing it first thing in the morning, because you say you're eating breakfast afterwards, so you are doing it first thing in the morning. Very often I would do the same thing. If I'm doing a really early morning workout, I would do it on an empty stomach and then eat my breakfast afterwards. If I'm training later in the day, then obviously I have some food in my system. And you need to look at it from, what's your main goal here with your workouts? Like, if it's general fitness, fat loss, then doing fasted exercise, there's really nothing wrong with that. If you're trying to maximize your athletic performance, your strength, your endurance, your muscle gains, or whatever, I wouldn't recommend fasted exercise. I would recommend having something in your system to run on. You'll have more energy, and you'll feel stronger, and you'll prevent muscle breakdown and just be in a more positive anabolic state if you got a little bit of food in your system. And I've tried it both ways. And like I say, you can make both work. Don't get me wrong. You can still make it work, because you got to look at the bigger picture of what's going on here. I mean, as long as you're consistent with eating and exercise and healthy lifestyle habits, you can still make it work. But if you want to maximize your results in a certain goal, like strength or athletic performance, then I would recommend fueling up beforehand, having that nourishment in your body so that your body can utilize that to help fuel the workouts. So it really depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve at this stage of the game. So if you want, I mean, feel free to message me. We can chat about your goals, what it is that you're achieving or trying to achieve, and, come up with a strategy that works for you. But the simple answer is, if you're doing it and you're enjoying it and you're getting results with what you're doing, hey, keep doing it, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But with that being said, if your main goal is not just general fitness and fat loss, but it's some sort of athletic performance goal that you're working towards, then I think there could be a better way to optimize that, to kind of like take it to another level. Mark is joining in. He says, what are your thoughts on pre-fatiguing a muscle before getting into a working set? Do you mean like pre-exhaust? That's what I would normally refer to it as, and I'm kind of thinking that's maybe what you're getting at here, where let's just use an example. So you're doing bench press is your main compound exercise for the chest, but you probably don't feel your chest getting fully activated with the bench press for some reason. So instead, you want to pre-exhaust it with some pec deck flies first to pump up the pecs, and then do your bench press. And that's a strategy that you can use. I mean, it's a good strategy. I've used it before, and I find it's nice if you just want to change up your workouts and have some extra training variety and stimulus in there. That's totally fine. It's good from a muscle stimulation point of view, getting, feeling the muscles, getting a pump, time under tension, that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily optimal from a strength and power point of view, right? If your main goal is just building strength and power, then I wouldn't recommend pre-exhausting a muscle beforehand. Like if your goal is to get a bigger bench press, don't pre-exhaust your pecs with pec deck flies first, right? Just jump into your bench press, do your warm-up sets and everything else, and hit it while you're fresh, right? Get the most power out of that exercise you can while you're fresh. And then you can do your isolation, your assistant exercises and whatever afterwards. But if you are doing it from a bodybuilding point of view, or maybe you're working around injuries, like you find, hey, heavy bench presses really bother my shoulders and I can't go super heavy or it hurts. Well, maybe we can pre-exhaust the muscles beforehand, so then you don't need to go as heavy with that compound exercise, and you actually get just as much muscle stimulation, just as much of a pump, but not have to lift as heavy and still get a good workout. So again, it depends on the situation. Like I said before, it's not like this is right, wrong, good, bad, or anything like that. It depends on who is it for, right? Just the same as I'm not going to give college curriculum to a kindergarten student. I'm not going to give a kindergarten curriculum to a college student. Same applies here. It really depends on who's it for. What's your goal? What is it you're trying to train? And why are you wanting to pre-fatigue the muscle before doing your heavy working sets? Like, it really depends on the situation. So again, for any of these questions that we're discussing here, if you do have you want some clarification on it, or you want some help, feel free to reach out to me and we can chat about it in more detail. Mr. Sir Essa1. Give me a full meal plan to get me abs. Give Give me a full meal plan to get me to see my abs, mate. Message me. We can chat. There. Raj, how little did you sleep but still got in a good workout? All right. If I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm not going to push myself hard the next day, generally. I mean, generally not. Now, of course, there's always exceptions to the rule. Sometimes you might only get, 4 or 5 hours sleep and still feel fine the next day. But I find if I don't get a good night's sleep, like 6+ solid hours of sleep, I mean, ideally 8 hours of sleep, but if I don't get a good night's sleep, I find that it really does hinder my exercise performance. Now, maybe just one night of bad sleep isn't going to have a big thing, but if it compounds, if you have several nights of bad sleep, then it's going to start to add up. But that's something that you can kind of play by ear, right? Like if you are feeling extra tired and you just don't have it in you, then maybe that's the day you're just going to do an easy active recovery type workout. Or maybe you're just going to do some low intensity cardio on that day. Or maybe you do, just some gentle exercise. Like in my case, I have several different forms of exercise that I will incorporate into my routine. Right? I'll do weight training. I'll do low intensity cardio, like just taking the dog for a walk. I'll go for cycling rides, and those cycling rides can be short and intense rides or long steady state rides or intervals. Sometimes I do yoga, right? Just focus on mobility and flexibility and kind of like this gentle exercise. So I have all these different tools that I can pull at. So sometimes if I'm feeling too tired to do a heavy weight training workout, but I still want to get in some exercise, maybe that's the day that I'll do like a follow along yoga workout at home. Or maybe I'll just take my dog for a walk, something easy like that. Like it doesn't always have to be balls to the wall, high intensity exercise. It's okay to adjust your exercise based on how you're feeling and what it is that you want to focus on. And it actually makes it more fun and enjoyable when you have a lot of different variety that you can pull from, because you don't feel like you're doing the same stuff over and over again. It's not monotonous. It's actually very fun and enjoyable because there's a lot of variety built in there. But bottom line, if I don't sleep well and I don't feel high energy, I'm not going to try and push myself in the gym. Right? It's kind of counterintuitive. What water do you drink? I've been drinking nothing but distilled water and don't think I'll ever go back. I drink tap water. I have a filter on my tap, which is kind of optional because the water where I live is pretty darn good even without a filter. But I do have a filter on my tap, and I'm drinking good old tap water. Works for me. But hey, whatever type of water you like. If you enjoy distilled water and it's doing it for you, then hey, go for it. As long as you're drinking it, that's the most important thing. I don't think that it's not the type of water you drink. It's the fact that you're drinking it. That's the most important thing. I don't think my message is going through for some reason. I sent you a message on Facebook. I'd really appreciate it if you'd give it a read when you have the time. I'm really desperate for help. Okay, well, let me just see. A minute ago, it was on Instagram. Now 2 minutes later, it's on Facebook. Let me just see. I'm actually going to log into my Facebook right now and see if it's there. Give me a minute. All right, I have some messages on Facebook, but none of them are from a Mr. Steamer. So one thing you could probably do is just address your name in your actual message. And make sure you're messaging the right Lee Hayward, because there's a lot of Lee Haywards on Facebook, right? Like I mentioned, mine is Lee Hayward. It's like you should find my profile. But just make sure you're messaging the right guy, because I don't see a message from a steamer. Right? Just a heads up. But anyway, moving on. No Mo, is 33 too old to start building a aesthetic body? No, it's not too old. Like, start now. Seriously, like don't even think of that. I know in your mind, like you're thinking, oh my God, I'm 33 years old, and like, hey, this guy I seen on social media, I mean, he's only in his 20s and he's in way better shape than me. Maybe I'm too old. Like, no, like forget that. Just start now. You're never going to be as young as you are right now. Like, start now. And to kind of put things in perspective, one of my coaching students who's made an amazing transformation, he never stepped foot inside a gym until he was 62 years old. And he had to step foot inside a gym because he had almost died of a heart attack at 62 years old. And that's where he was starting. Overweight, out of shape, never played sports, never stepped inside a gym, never had any athletic background, started from scratch at 62. And now in his late 60s, he's in the best shape of his life. So, I mean, like, you're never too old. Like, start now. What's the old Chinese proverb? They say, like, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is like now, today. So you missed the 20 years ago. So start today. Literally, like, don't overthink it. Just get started. And if you need some help with getting started and you want like a plan to follow, hey, feel free to message me. I can point you in the right direction. You know, like whether you want a customized program or you just want me to reference some of the beginner videos that I got on my channel, like I can put you in the right direction to get you started. So if you want some help with that, feel free to reach out to me. But don't overthink this. Like the more you overthink it and question it, like you're dilly-dallying the process. Like, just start now, because if you don't start now, then next thing you know, you're going to be 43 and you're going to be wondering, oh, gee, I'm 43. I wish I had started back when I was 33. Like, start now. Seriously, you're never going to be as young as you are right now. Like, I got guys in the Muscle After 40 blueprint, right, who are starting working out for the first time in their 40s. Some are starting for the first time in their 50s. In fact, just before I got on this video chat, I was having a chat with one of the guys, Mike. I mean, he's 57 years old. And he started in his 50s. And right now, he's in the best shape of his life in his 50s, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter your age. Just start now. Okay, moving on. Vic is joining in. He says, I lose weight with help of the workout and diet, but now I have loose skin on my face and look older. How can I fix that? Well, if it's really bad, first, I really need to see what you're referring to know what this is, because we are our own worst critic. Like, a lot of times people look at their own physical flaws and they're like, oh my God, I'm hideous, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever. And like, other people don't see it as bad as what we see it. So like, chances are, if you're leaner, you're in better shape and all that, you're probably look better. Like, I don't think if you fattened back up, you would look young and healthy, right? Like, obese doesn't usually look young and healthy. I would rather be lean and have my ideal body weight. And yeah, you may have a little bit of loose skin initially, but very often that will tighten up over time, like as long as you keep the weight off. Now, if you're older, it may not have the same elasticity. You may have some of that loose, saggy skin to a degree. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to be healthier, you're going to look better, you're going to feel better being leaner and having some loose skin versus being fatter and having all that skin puffed up with body fat and fluid and excess bloat, right? Like, you're better off being leaner and having a bit of loose skin versus being fat and tight. You know, I actually made a video discussing loose skin. Now, it wasn't directed to loose skin on the face. It was loose skin around the midsection, but the same principles kind of apply. So just do a YouTube search for Lee Hayward loose skin, and you should find that video. Actually, I did two versions of that video. There's one up on the Critical Bench YouTube channel, and there's one on mine. Watch both of them, right? But yeah, that's one thing that I would recommend. Check out that video, because again, I go into more detail about the whole topic of loose skin and the pros and cons of both. Robert said, I just went on your playlist for elbow problems. I'll look at your site after your Q&A. Yeah, there's a lot of videos there related to different types, like especially elbow tendonitis and golfer's elbow and tennis elbow, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a very common problem for people who lift weights and do repetitive movements, right? I've dealt with it on and off for years. Lee is saying, Lee Dunnigan, what's your opinion on glutamine? I've been taking 20 grams of glutamine a day for 10 years. Is it worth the money? I train 3 to 4 days a week. It really depends. If you are supplementing with whey protein, it very often has high levels of glutamine in it as well. Like, it's something you want to look into. Like, you're serving, your scoop of whey protein powder may have 5 grams of glutamine in it anyway. So like, do you really need to take extra glutamine in and of itself? Maybe not. Glutamine, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I mean, like, if you're doing it, you enjoy it and everything else, that's fine. But glutamine is a non-essential amino acid. So the body can make it. It's not something that it has to be acquired through diet. So it's not essential that you consume glutamine, but if you're consuming adequate protein, meaning you're meeting the minimum of 1 gram per pound of body weight per day, you're taking like protein supplements, you're probably getting your glutamine needs met that way anyway, right? Because I personally don't supplement with glutamine. Now, I do take essential amino acids. I use that when I'm training, whether it's cardio or weight training. I will drink amino acids mixed in there. And I do supplement with whey protein. Like, very rare do I actually drink a protein shake anymore, but I usually have my protein with food. Like this morning I had a bowl of oatmeal and I stirred in a scoop of whey protein. So I like my high protein oatmeal. Very often I'll mix up blender smoothies, like with frozen berries and whey protein, and then mix it up really thick and have it like a high protein blender ice cream, and I'll eat it with a spoon. So I eat my whey protein. Another one that I like to do a lot of is I get like some fat-free Greek yogurt, stir in a spoonful of whey protein in with that, and then it's like this high protein pudding. So these are some of my healthy snack alternatives that are high in protein, and they actually taste really darn good. And these are ways that I help to satisfy my sweet tooth cravings and bump up my protein intake at the same time. So because I'm doing that and I'm consuming whey protein on a regular basis, plus I'm taking the essential amino acids during training, I don't take any extra glutamine myself. I mean, I used to when I was younger, and as far as like, did I actually notice any benefit from it? I can't say that I did. I really can't, because again, I was still doing the same thing, like consuming a minimum of a gram of protein per pound of body weight, getting in the whey protein there, which has glutamine in it. So, you may not necessarily need it. I mean, if you want, take a week or two off it and see if you notice any difference or not. I mean, if you do, then hey, then go back on it again. But if you don't, then maybe you don't need it. Mike joining us from Adelaide, Australia, says, I'm about to go walk into the gym for an upper body workout. I'll watch this later. Cheers. All right. Well, good morning to you. Mike's obviously in the future. Have a good workout, and I'll hi during the replay. Eagle Eye John is joining, and he says, would you say 12 to 15 reps is good for a ripped look, not so much for strength, ready for summer and low calories? Whether or not you get ripped has nothing to do with the number of reps you do. It has to do with calories in versus calories out. I mean, you could achieve a calorie deficit doing low reps. You could achieve a calorie deficit doing high reps or medium reps or whatever. It's diet, cardio, not how many reps you do. So like this whole high reps for cutting, low reps for bulking, that's bullshit, right? Just being honest. It doesn't matter. Like if you're in a calorie deficit and you do low reps, you can get ripped. If you're in a calorie surplus and you do high reps, you can still get fat. Like the number of reps doesn't affect how much fat you burn. And whether or not you get ripped is all related to how much body fat you have. If you're fat, you're not going to look ripped. If you're lean, you're going to look ripped. So the reps, it helps with when it comes to the workouts, meaning, how you're stimulating muscle growth, because obviously, higher repetitions is more time under tension, more muscular endurance type training. The lower reps is more explosive power training. So, I mean, it'll help from the strength performance, but as far as the actual level of leanness, that's a calories in, calories out equation. It's not a how many reps am I doing equation. So you can make it work both ways. I mean, prime example, like you could see a competitive power lifter who's keeping his calories low because he's trying to make a weight class. And I mean, he could be looking lean and ripped. And then you could see a competitive power lifter who's trying to like peak out in a weight class, like a super heavyweight guy, and he might have a gut sticking out further than his chest. And, so they're both training heavy for powerlifting. One could be lean and ripped. One could be, fat, but they're still doing low reps and heavy weights, right? So, I mean, it's calories. It's the diet that makes a difference, not the number of reps. What else we got there? Josh is saying, following your bodybuilding competition, what are your new training goals? What I'm really focusing mostly on now, I'm doing a lot of cycling now, actually. A lot of bicycling. I actually, this past September, so I competed in bodybuilding in July, did our provincial bodybuilding championships. Then in September, I competed in our provincial road cycling championships. So it's like chalk and cheese, two totally different sports. But I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the challenge, and it was a fun challenge. I mean, I got my ass kicked by the more experienced riders, but I held my own, and I completed the 94-kilometer road race course with over 1,400 meters of elevation, nonstop. So I mean, like, that was quite a feat in and of itself. I mean, it took over, what did it take? I think it was 2.5 hours or something like that, nonstop. It was pretty intense for sure, right? I mean, it was brutal. Or no, it was more than 2.5. It was over 3 hours. Over 3 hours. Never mean 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's like world-class times if I did it in that. 94 kilometers over the course. It was over 3 hours, nonstop. So I mean, it didn't even stop for a piss, right? And I mean, that was brutal. It really was. It was quite the challenge for sure. But man, it was fun. And so that's what I'm really focusing a lot on now is different aspects of cycling. And I have some goals now that I'm working on. Like, I want to increase my FTP and build up my my strength and stamina on the bike. So that's one of my main things that I'm focusing on at this stage of the game. Still doing the weight training, but my main priority right now is on cycling, because that's something that I really enjoy at the moment. And maybe next year when our local bodybuilding competition rolls around again, I may have another stab at it. I'll see how I feel in the months leading up to it. I mean, I'm keeping my body fat in check so that I'm within striking distance of getting ready for a competition again if I want to. But that's not my main priority at this stage. Main priority at this stage is focusing on improving my cycling. We have Jeff joining in. He says, I started at 30 and I'm in the best shape of my life now at 34. Okay, so he's responding to someone who's the guy who was saying that he was 33 and wondering if it's too old to start. Yeah, myself and Jeff, that's we did an interview talking about Jeff's progress. If you haven't already done so, just do a search for Lee Hayward and Jeff Samatero on YouTube and you'll see it. Or just go to my main YouTube channel page and scroll through the Muscle After 40 success stories. Even though Jeff's not after 40, he followed the Muscle After 40 program and got in the best shape of his life. It's like the same principles apply even if you're in your 30s or younger. But, it's geared with the mindset of, hey, this will work for people in their 40s and beyond. And that's who I specialize on helping at this stage of the game, because I'm a guy in my 40s. And I can relate to the challenges that guys in their 40s are going through. Oakley dokley. Where am I to? Here we go. All right, moving on. We got Brian tuning in. Just want to say that I love your videos and your books. Always get great knowledgeable information. I always look forward to your videos. Thank you. So Brian's a regular over on the Dad Bod Transformation Group. Made an amazing transformation. And he's a guy who started... I don't know exactly when you started, Brian, but you started in your 40s or later. I'm not sure exactly, but hey, feel free to chime in in the chat window there and let us know. But you're a prime example of someone who's made an impressive dad bod transformation, and you're like a fine wine, getting better with age. Right? That's what we all want. I mean, like, age, it's like, don't get hung up on the number. Like, I'm 43 now, and I feel like I'm in my prime. Like, so I'm doing stuff now that I couldn't do even back in my 20s and 30s, right? So, I mean, like, age is really only a number. Moving on. What else we got there? Retro Gamer 98 saying, which plan is the best for a hard gainer? I have to mention, this channel is great. I love the way you explain everything in detail and slowly. Okay. Thanks. I appreciate that you like the channel. All right, the best program for a hard gainer. That I don't like these questions, and it's nothing against you or asking the question, because like, what's best for one person is not necessarily best for others. And why do you consider yourself a hard gainer? Is it because you're just starting off and you haven't gained anything yet? You say, oh, this is hard. I must be a hard gainer, or what? Like, the term hard gainer is I've got news for you. Everybody's a hard gainer. Nobody makes easy gains. Seriously, like there's no such thing. Even genetically gifted people, and you know, the top of the best of the best in the world, like they are busting their ass to make progress. Like people who are genetically gifted and have potential, they're working harder than the people who are not genetically gifted and do not have potential, because I mean, they can see that they're getting results for the work they put in, and they put in more work. So there's no such thing as an easy gainer. Like nobody's just going to go into the gym and half-ass a workout and come out, you know, jacked and ripped and full of muscles. It doesn't happen. Everybody's got to work their ass off to make progress, right? Anybody who tries to tell you that you don't, they're full of shit, right? It doesn't work that way. So everybody's a hard gainer, right? That's it. Like if it was easy, we'd all be lean, ripped, and jacked, and we'd be hanging out at the beach with our Greek god bodies glistening in the sun, and there'd be no such thing as obesity or any health problems or anything like that in the world, because everybody'd be doing the easy gainer program. But it doesn't work that way. We're all hard gainers, right? Anything worth having is going to take some effort. So that's the reality. So as far as like, what's the best plan for a hard gainer? Well, it's like, what's the best plan for me? That's what you're asking. And I really don't know what the best plan for you is, because I don't know your specific situation, your goals, your age, what you have available for exercise equipment, or any of that stuff. So, I mean, obviously you can do a search on my YouTube channel. I got a ton of workout videos from, you know, different types of training splits to home workouts, to gym workouts, to you name it. So, I mean, you can certainly search through there if you want to get some ideas. But if you would like some help with like a personalized plan specific for you and your situation, then hey, message me, right? Friend me up on Facebook, send me a message through there, or drop me an email, one or the other. I got to say, the easiest way to get in touch with me is through Facebook, because I have my email goes through Gmail. And their spam filters have gotten ridiculously strict over the last little while. Like even some of my coaching students who I've been having regular conversations with back and forth, like now their emails are going to my spam. Like even my son's school emails, like they send up updates like, hey, you know, time to order the school lunch program again, or, you know, talking about school schedule changes. Like that's going to my spam folder now. Like I don't know what it is, but Gmail's spam filters have like gone through the roof these days. So like half my email has been going to spam. Like I was wondering, like over the past couple of weeks, I'm like, man, I'm not getting a lot of email. I wonder what's going to go. Like I'm just that's weird. Not getting much email these days. And then finally, I was looking for something. I said, I wonder, did it go to spam? And then here I open my spam folder. I'm like, holy shit! Like here's all the email that I was supposed to be getting over the past couple of weeks is all gone to spam. So if I'm more aware of it now, but just to let you know, if you want to message me, especially if you're messaging me something related to diet and exercise, it's probably best to send it through Facebook, because at least then I know the message is going through. But with Gmail, it's like you write the words diet, exercise, fat loss, calories, or anything like that. They say, oh, this is spam. Send it to the spam or the promotions tab or something like that. Even if it's sent from a real person, it's just crazy. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know. I got off track. Sorry about that. Holy crap, look at the time. It's after an hour gone by already. I told you once I got the going, they got the gift of gab. Anyway, I'll answer a few more questions and we'll clue this up. Andrew's joining in. Just thought I would wave from sunny New Zealand this morning. Welcome. Hopefully the future is good. I know you're in the future over there on that side of the world. Can vegans build muscle? This is from No Mo. Technically, yes. Yes. Yes, you can. I tried going vegan. I didn't like it. I found that it actually hindered my exercise performance, but I'm not going to get into the whole debate over, vegan versus non-vegan. Like, there are people who are vegans who have made great gains, but it's a lot easier to build muscle if you don't have those dietary restrictions. Like, it's hard enough to build muscle if you have all the food options available to you. If you totally cut out animal-based products and now you have to try and make that up through non-animal-based sources, plant-based sources, it makes it a lot harder. So you're stacking the deck against you. Whereas when you allow yourself to eat all 4 food groups, you eat animal and plant-based, then you open up your options right? It's like saying, hey, can I win a boxing match with one hand tied behind my back? Yeah, maybe, right? You know, if your competition sucks or you're just really good with one hand, but it's a lot easier if you got two, right? Same thing when it comes to vegan versus, you know, the hybrid diet, right? Like, can I build muscle eating just plants? Yeah, technically you can, but it's a lot easier if you're eating plants and animal products as well, right? So again, it's like that analogy. That's actually, I'm going to use that one again. I just came up with it off the top of my head, right? Like, can I win a boxing match with one hand tied behind my back? You know, you probably can, but it's a lot easier with two. Right? All right, moving on. Eagle Eye John says he's older than me, 47. 47 and going strong. Good stuff. Verd Denim. Hopefully you'll see this. I am. I'm seeing it right now. I'm just recovering from COVID. Sorry to hear that, my friend. I lost 37 pounds while sick. Holy shit, that's a lot of weight. Do you have any recommendation for starting again? Well, I'm sorry that you went through that. I mean, like, I know several people who have went through COVID, and it's crazy to hear. Like, some people ended up in hospital and like never been sicker before. Like they felt like, man, this is the worst I've ever felt in my life. Other people had COVID and they're like, man, it was just like a snotty nose and a bit of a cold. And any other year they'd say, hey, I got a cold. Big deal. Right. So I've heard from one extreme to the other, where this is the worst I've felt, you know, to hardly anything. So obviously you were in the bad side, if you will, obviously to go through that kind of scenario, losing so much weight and feeling sick. So, you know, hopefully you recover and get back to normal soon. But as far as starting again, don't be too eager to get back into pushing yourself after a serious bout of COVID, because your immune system is down. Your respiratory system is compromised. Like, you're not in the position to push yourself with high intensity. So you want to build back up to that very slowly, very gradually, and coax your body along, not try and force it along. So the one thing that you want to focus on, obviously, is getting your nutrition back in check to try and put on some of that weight that you lost. And when it comes to the exercise, like, literally go through the motions, like, easy. Do not be pushing to failure. Don't be trying to set personal records, or don't worry about what you used to live pre-COVID or what you used to be able to do pre-COVID. Like, you work up to that gradually, like later on down the road in the future. But for now, just literally go through the motions, like very basic, very easy. And think of just going through, like, don't think of stressing your body. Just think of you're just trying to coax it along. So, I mean, like, for the first month back to the gym, like, just show up, like, enjoy yourself, like, do a little easy circuit routine on the machines or something like that. When it comes to cardio, like, just go for a walk. Like, don't push yourself. If you start to feel winded or tired or whatever, take rest, take it easy. Like, don't push it. Stop your set short of failure. Like, literally go through the motions. And then week by week, gradually, slowly, baby stepping it along, right? 1% better each day type of thing. Just gradually build yourself up. And I mean, it's going to take some time. This isn't going to just bounce back in the matter of a couple of days or a couple of weeks or anything like that. I mean, it could be several months. I mean, to regain 37 pounds without just ballooning back up and getting fat, I mean, it's going to take some time. So just enjoy the journey and realize that as long as you're moving in the right direction, that's all that matters, right? So don't be in a rush. Just settle in and enjoy the journey, and don't force anything at this stage, right? Just literally go through the motions. Because I haven't experienced it myself, but I've heard from other coaches and other athletes and stuff who've had COVID, that if you try and push it too much too soon, you can cause more damage, right? Because your immune system and your respiratory system is already compromised, and you don't want to try and place excess stress on a compromised immune system, right? All right, moving on. What else we got there? Ian's joining in. Hope you're well. What is your opinion on high-intensity interval training as the main form of cardio? Is it better in steady-state form cardio? Blah, 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 blah. No, it's not better. You need both. You need both. Like, there's a time for high intensity. There's a time for steady state. And the simple answer that I can give you is listen to your body. On the days that you feel high energy and you got energy to burn and you want to push it, that's the day you can do the high intensity cardio. On those days when you're kind of like dragging your ass, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling a bit sore, I'm not really into it, those are the days when you can do the steady state. And from a cardio training point of view, the best athletes, like even like endurance athletes and stuff like that, they use both. So they'll have a high intensity day. They'll have a low intensity day or an active recovery day. They're not always just going gun, 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 bang, high intensity every single time. Like you can't. You'll burn yourself out and you'll overtrain. You need to alternate the high intensity efforts with the low intensity efforts. And the best endurance athletes, and that what they'll very often do is they won't back-to-back high-intensity sessions. So if they have a high-intensity hard session where they're pushing it, the next one's going to be an easy one, right? And then they may have a couple easy ones and then another hard one, then an easy one and then a hard one. And that's very often how they do it. Like I refer to this as the yin and yang, right? Like high intensity alternated with low intensity. Now in my case, I generally recommend it like high intensity weight training alternated with low intensity cardio. But even within the cardio, right, you could have high intensity cardio alternated with low intensity cardio. And you want to have both in there. Now, if it's just fat loss that you're doing the cardio for, and you really don't give a shit about cardio performance or anything like that, then the low intensity cardio is fine. Now you can do that. And if you're doing weight training supplemented with cardio, the low intensity cardio is a great complement to that because it's not going to hinder the recovery from your weight training. So, I mean, you could do high intensity weight training workouts, low intensity cardio workouts, either alternate them day for day or even do them on the same day. And the cardio, when it's done at a low intensity, isn't going to have a big negative impact on your recovery from your weight training. In fact, it could actually aid with the recovery, be considered active recovery. But if you go in there and you push it high intensity weight training, and then you go in there and push it high intensity cardio, you're burning the candle at both ends, right? You can't sustain that for very long before it's just going to have a negative impact and you're just going to feel drained and depleted. So you need to supplement in their both forms. And how you go about it really depends on what is it you're training for. Are you training for cardio performance or sports specific performance? Or are you training for body composition and physique enhancement? I mean, I want to build muscle, lose fat, and have a nice athletic looking body. You know, so if you're doing it from a bodybuilding physique, body recomposition point of view, it's a different approach than if you're doing it from an athletic training point of view, right? But you need both. That's the bottom line, right? One is not better or worse. You need both, the high intensity along with the low intensity. What else we got there? Raphael, I think it is, or Raffle. I'm not sure. Recomp or bulk for skinny fat beginner? Simple answer. Do not bulk. Like if I could change one thing with my whole, like if I could go back in time and talk to the young Lee Hayward, the young, dumb and eager, impatient Lee Hayward who wanted to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, I would have told him, like, smarten up, stop trying to bulk, because bulk is just an excuse to get fat. That's all it is. So this, if you're skinny fat now, bulking will just make you bigger fat. It literally will. Like bulking, especially if you bulk the way that a lot of people bulk, where they're just like slamming back excess calories, right? You know, and that's what I did. I'm guilty of that as anybody, but I was trying to just get the scale to go up. That's all I cared about. And I mean, yeah, the scale certainly went up and went all the way up to over 240 pounds, but I had a gut sticking out further than my chest and body fat percentage that was way off the charts. It was so high that I didn't even want to measure it, put it that way, right? But don't bulk. Seriously, like the bulking is an excuse to get fat. And the amount of calories that you need to build actual lean muscle is very low. Like you could literally focus on calorie maintenance and probably achieve enough to build muscle, is providing you're eating the right foods, meaning you're getting the right nutrients, adequate protein, so a gram of protein per pound of body weight per day, making sure that you're getting, you know, vegetables and healthy fats and just adequate calories from that point of view, and focus on quality over quantity. And like literally, if you strive for calorie maintenance, there's a good chance you'll probably actually put yourself into a slight surplus, because most people kind of underestimate how many calories they eat, or they don't factor it all in. Like they might factor in the calories they're consuming from, you know, the foods themselves, but then not add on the condiments that go into the foods, right? You know, like you'll measure out, okay, I got this much protein and calories from my chicken breast, and I got this much from my potato and this much from my vegetables, but they didn't factor in the barbecue sauce that I squirted onto the chicken breast, and you know, that spoonful of butter that I piled onto the vegetables, or something like that, right? So it's easy to be over your calorie allotment, right? When you're trying to calculate your calories. Like I see this all the time, especially from a fat loss point of view. Like people say, oh, I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day and I can't lose weight. I'm like, bullshit. If you're eating 1,000 calories a day, you're starving. You're eating more than 1,000 calories a day, right? Same thing applies when it comes to even, just in your case, trying to achieve a body recomp. Strive for maintenance, and chances are that will put you in an adequate calorie intake to actually achieve lean muscle growth. Like there's very little difference between a fat burning diet versus a lean gain diet or a recomp diet or however you want to call it. Because ideally, if you're doing things right, you could be in a fat loss program. As long as your training, your nutrition, and healthy lifestyle choices are all in order, you can burn body fat and build lean muscle at the same time, i.e. achieve a body recomposition. Now, if you don't want to actually lose weight, then you just bump up the calories to maintenance so that you sustain your weight while achieving that body recomposition. But don't purposely go bulking. And for God's sakes, don't purposely go dirty bulking because you're just going to get fatter. All right. I think I got them pretty much all covered there, guys. So I'm going to clue it up. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. Hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. I enjoy doing them. And have yourself a great weekend. I'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. Hopefully you tune in then. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions about what we covered during today's chat, feel free to reach out to me. As I mentioned, you can email me or you can Facebook message me. Somebody said they were trying to contact me through Instagram. I do have an Instagram account, but honestly, I don't go in there checking it very often. So Facebook is the easiest way to get in touch with me. And I'll chat with you next time. And have yourself a great weekend. Over and out.